Hello and namaskar friends. Welcome to my channel Quality Magnify India. Friends, earlier my slides I usually speak in mostly in English and sometimes in the local language to have the people to better understand. But after that I got a lot of requests to make the channel, make the video or make the slides in English only because there are a lot of people there they cannot understand Hindi. So I decided from today onwards, whatever the video will be published from my channel, those are in full English only. So friends, we are continuing with API 510. As I told you last slides, that this is the final slide for API 510 chapter 8, which will read repair, alternation, re-rating of pressure vessel and pressure relieving devices. Last chapter we read about chapter 7, that is inspection, data evaluation, analysis and recording. But there will be a calculation part. Calculation is very important in API 510. There are few formulas are there which either you have to remember or no need to remember because most of the formulas came in the open book exam. And I will make another one slide, part 8, which will continue the API 510, and that part 8 will cover all the calculations, mathematical calculations. And on that part, you will be very clear about that one, that I will cover all the calculations, so there will be no confusion. So what we did from part 1 to part 7, the theory we covered completely. And I've highlighted the questions, which is open book, which is closed book, and I speak it also. And I advise to you that this question possible. When I say possible and I highlighted, I think there is a 90% chance. Okay, because these questions are repeating every if I can observe from past few years of API 510 exams, I observe those questions are repeating. And as I told from the beginning, API 510 will consist almost 60 to 65 questions. It includes the closed book and open book. Usually what happen in API 510, there is total some 170 questions is coming, and out of which sometimes 105 to 110 is a closed book, and 60 to 65 is the open book. Okay, so if you can consider, out of this 110 you will get more than 55, for 50 to 55 questions per API 510 as a closed book, and more than 15 to 20 questions per open book from API 510. So you need to read it very carefully, point by point. I have highlighted those points, and you need to remember it. You have to make note, and you have to remember those points so that you can crack API 510 exam. So let's start the last part of API 510. After this, we will finish API 510. Okay, as I told you, in API 510 there is total nine chapters, out of which chapter 9 will not come in your exam. Only chapter 1 to chapter 8. Okay, and similarly 5 appendices. For appendix A and B will only come in the exam. C, D, E will not cover. So it is very clear. So this is the last and final chapter for API 510. Let's start. What it says: repair, alternation, re-rating a pressure vessel and pressure relieving devices. We always read pressure vessel in combined with pressure relieving devices. Okay, both are interrelated. Okay, pressure vessel and pressure relieving devices. So what it says: all repair and alternation of pressure vessels shall be performed by a repair organizations. Why I highlight this one? I highlighted in chapter 3 also. What is called a repair organization is a must question. It will come, and in many places in code they will make some tricky question like that. They will put some ABCD like all repair and alternation of pressure vessels shall be performed by owner organization, this one, that one, they will put, and they will put one repair organization definition on that one. So you have to exactly choose the repair organization definition, because there is 4 and 5 definitions. So 4 definitions, who is a repair organization? Okay, that you need to remember. In accordance with the applicable principle of ASME code or the applicable construction or repair code of the specific equipment specific repair plan prepared by the inspector or engineer. Why I am highlighting this one? Because many times they ask whose responsibility is what, who is going to do what activities. So this is most important, not only in API 510, if you go to 580, 653, 570 also, there are these key words you have to remember, and you will get some 5 to 10 questions that who is responsible for what. That question is always, I see from last 4-5 years, this question is always repeating. Okay. So, repair of PRB as per API 576 we have to follow. Okay, API 576 is for PRB. The repair organization shall follow all applicable safety requirement as per 5.3. 5.3 already we have read. In 5.3, chapter 5 is what? Inspection, examination, and pressure testing practices. Okay, authorization. Who will give the authorization for repair, alternation, and re-rating? What is the definition of repair? What is the definition of alternation, and what is the definition of re-rating? Already we read in chapter 3. If you didn't know, you go and read it carefully and listen the videos. Why? Because they will ask something in the definition, and they will ask whether it is a repair or alternation or re-rating. That you need to do. This is a multiple choice question, closed book. Authorization. All repair and alternation work shall be authorized by the inspector. Okay. Again, I am telling who is responsible for what. This is a very important question in API 510. Okay. Before the work is started by the repair organization. So, if the repair organization is doing the work, then repair and alternation shall be authorized by the inspector. When we say inspector, he is authorized pressure vessel inspector. The inspector will designate the hold points. Okay. Hold point means the work cannot be proceeded without the presence of owner, the purchaser. Okay. Hold point. Hold point definition is also in chapter 3. You can find it there. Okay. The inspector may give prior general authorization for limited or routine specific repairs on a specific vessel, provided the inspector is satisfied with the competency of the repair organization and the repairs are the kind that will not require a pressure test. Okay. Approval. This is the authorization and this is the approval. Okay. Approval before any repair or alternation are performed, all processed method of design, execution, material, welding procedure, ND and testing shall be approved by the inspector or engineer. Okay. So inspector and engineer, or, okay, not and, or engineer. Either inspector can do or engineer can do. So the design, execution, material, weld procedure all should be approved by inspector or engineer. Okay. Authorization will be given by inspector. Okay. He is the authority. But approval by inspector or engineer. So design. New vessel design, connections and replacement parts shall be made to the design requirement for applicable construction codes. This is important. Always this is happen according to the applicable construction code, new vessel design. Okay. The design of replacement part and new nozzle shall employ the same allowable stress criteria as used by the vessel design. Design location and method of attachment shall comply with the requirement of the applicable construction code. So this will be approved by either engineer or inspector. First, the design will be made by the repair organization. Then they will make it authorized by the inspector. Then this will be approved by the inspector and organizations, inspector or engineer. Then what are the requirement of the design? That's what it is mentioning. The requirement of the design of replacement parts shall not below the original self-led strength. Okay, that's what it is saying. Design, how the design will be. Okay, and the engineer shall approve all nozzle installations. So the nozzle installation will only be approved by a engineer. Okay, not by inspector, only engineer. So material, what type of material it will be? The material used in making repair or alternation shall confirm the applicable construction code. So whatever the code is saying, okay, whatever the material is used, if the material is used to P4, you cannot use a P1 material. P3, 4, 5 is the low elo materials. Okay. So you cannot use for P1 materials, which CS materials, okay, carbon steel materials. So he is telling the material used in making repair and alternation, if we are going to do a repair and alternation, then it should meet the construction code. Material marking, material control practice and material test report provided to owner and user shall comply with applicable construction code. Okay. Material used for welded repair and alternatives shall be known weldability quality and the compatibility with the original materials. Carbon alloy steel with carbon content over 0.35% shall not be welded, and carbon steel with carbon content over 3% may need special attention for preheating and avoid weld cracking. Okay. So there is a carbon equivalent. Okay. Carbon equivalent and carbon content both are different. So here it is saying if the carbon and low alloy with carbon content more than 3.5%. If the carbon content is more than 3.35%, then it should not be welded. Okay. What should be the minimum carbon content? The construction code will certify. But as per API, if it is more than carbon content, don't confuse yourself with carbon content and carbon equivalent. Carbon equivalent, there is a different criteria. If it is below 0.35, then you have to do what from 0.35 to 0.55, what you have to do, and above 0.55, what you have to do. So that is different. And here it is saying carbon content, the chemical composition. If the carbon content is above 0.35, it shall not be welded. And carbon content over 0.3 may need special attention and preheating to avoid weld cracking. Defect repair. Defect repair should be as per ASME PCC 2 article 3.4. You will get this one as a closed book exam. So remember this one. This is closed book exam. Okay. What will be the carbon content? Welding is forbidden. Okay. So it is closed book questions. Temporary repairs. Temporary repair may be conducted on pressure vessel as long as the inspector and engineer are satisfied that the repair will render the vessel fit for continued service until permanent repair can be conducted. Let's say a vessel is on service and you cannot do a permanent repair because the defect is critical and the defect is very need a lengthy process, or the defect need lot of time to do that one. On that criteria, on that situation, you can do the temporary repairs. So temporary repairs, who will satisfy the requirement? The inspector and engineer to be satisfied. Okay, we will go for this temporary repairs, and there are few requirements by which we can tell, okay, we are ready for the temporary repairs. If the crack is if there is a crack and we will go for a temporary repair, might be it is not allowed by the engineer or inspector. So that depends upon the engineer and inspector whether this temporary repair is allowed. And if allowed, then below conditions should be fulfilled. So what are the conditions? Let's check. Temporary repair should be removed and replaced with suitable permanent repair at the next available maintenance opportunity. So temporary repair should not be considered as a permanent solution. Temporary repair was done because to fulfill on that particular time what is the requirement we have to fulfill. But at a certain period of time, or after a certain so after a certain time, we have to replace the temporary repair and do permanent repair. Okay. So temporary repair may remain in place for a longer period of time only if evaluated, approved and documented by the engineer and inspector, not or both has to evaluate. Engineer has to evaluate and inspector have to evaluate. So documentation for temporary repair should include location of the temporary repair, specific detail about the repair, detail of analysis to be performed, requirement of future inspection, the date of installation. So these are the points you have to remember, because either you will get a closed book or open book exam regarding this one. What are the requirement for the temporary repairs? Okay, might be you will get in open book or closed book also. So fillet welded patch. If there is a repair, there is a defect and we want to put a patch plate. Okay, patch plate. If there is a repair and a patch plate is required and the patch plate is a fillet welded patch plate, then what is the requirement? Fillet welded patch may be used to make temporary repair to damaged, corroded or eroded areas. Okay, if there is a damaged area, corroded or eroded, corrosion by normal process, erosion with some mechanical pressure. Okay, if a flow, if there is a nozzle is there and a flow is happening and there is a corrosion, due to this flow, this corrosion become erosion. Okay, so corroded means naturally corroded, but there is no mechanical flow or there is no pressure on that one, there is no flow on that one. But erosion with some corrosion with some flow, let's say nozzle is there and a flow is going on that nozzle, a high pressure flow is going, and there is a corrosion developed. So due to this flow, this corrosion will become more big. So that we call erosion. So pillar 12 paste may be used for make temporary repair on damaged, corroded and eroded areas, pressure vessel components. So cracks shall not be repaired in this manner unless the engineer determines that the crack will not expected to propagate from under the patch. If there is a crack and you want to do it by fillet welded patch, you need to contact first the engineer and take his approval. Because he has to evaluate if you will do the crack repair with the fillet weld patch, it will not propagate under beneath the fillet weld patch. Okay. So fillet weld patch requires special design requirement, especially related to weld joint efficiency. Weld joint efficiency is an important term. Actually, for this chapter, repair, alternation and re-rating, the most important is impact testing. Okay, where impact testing is required and where impact testing is not required. Because impact testing, based on impact testing, the repair, alternation and re-rating change a lot. Okay, we will read about impact testing after few slides. Okay, so here fillet welded patch requires special design consideration, especially related to weld joint efficiency. Fillet weld patch may be applied in the internal or external surface of the shell, head and headers. They would preferably be applied on the external surface of the facility to on-stream examinations. Okay, the allowable membrane stress is not exceed to the vessel parts and patches. Okay, these are some of the requirements you have to check, which is required for the fillet welded plates. For a fillet weld patch plate, there is a calculation which you need to remember. This calculation will come in open book and closed book. Okay, both. So, a fillet welded patch shall not be installed on top of the existing fillet welded patch. This is a closed book exam. Okay, this is closed book exam. Fillet welded plate is not installed on top of existing fillet welded plate except as additional opening reinforcement. If permitted by the applicable construction code, when installing a fillet welded patch adjacent to the existing fillet welded patch, the distance between the toes of the fillet weld shall not less. This is a must question. Okay, if a fillet weld patch is already there and you want to put another one fillet welded patch, then what is the minimum distance? D is minimum distance, not maximum. Okay, minimum distance. So the formula is D is 4 root over RT. What is R? R is the inside radius of the vessel in mm, and T is the actual thickness of underlying vessel wall in mm. So you will get a 100% question on this one. either either open book or closed book. This is another one question which will come. Fillet weld patch plate all shall be rounded corner. Minimum radius is 1 inch, 25 mm minimum radius. Okay. Usually in question they confuse with the term minimum, maximum, equal. So you have to remember exactly 1 inch minimum radius. Okay. So lap bend repairs. The fillet weld repairs and lap bend repairs are different. Fillet weld, nobody is overlapping with another one, but lap bend means it is overlapped. A full encirclement lap bend repair may be considered if the following requirements are met. There are few terms you need to remember. The design is approved by the inspector and engineer, that you need to remember. The band is designed to contain the full vessel design pressure, and there is another one, the joint efficiency should be 0.45. Okay, this is the requirements. There are few other, you can read it, but these three terms are important and can be expected in the questions. Non-penetrating nozzles. Non-penetrating nozzles means it is not through. Okay, it is only non-penetrating nozzles including pipe caps attached as nozzles may be used as permanent repair for other than cracks when the design and method of attachment comply with the applicable requirement of the appropriate codes. So the design and reinforcement of such nozzles shall consider the loss of original shell material enclosed for the nozzle. So this is one of the repair method, like lap weld, like fillet patch welding. This is non-penetrating nozzle. It is one of the repair method. Okay, so permanent repair, this is the temporary repair. We learn about temporary repairs, then we'll come to the permanent repair. So what does permanent repair says? Typical permanent repair technique include the following: APA 579, FFS, fitness for service, okay, and excavation, a defect or weld and repair welding of the excavation, replacement of a section component containing the defect, weld overlay of corroded areas, adding stripes and plate lining to the interior surface. So these are the permanent repairs, how we can do it. That is the temporary repair, how we are doing it, and now permanent repair. In permanent repair, we can use the insert plate. What is insert plate? There is a question. Always there is a question, insert plate, okay. So insert plate. Damaged or corroded shell plate may be repaired by removing section and replacing it with an insert plate or flush patch that meets the applicable code. So this is called insert plates, okay. If a damaged or corroded shell plate is there and it is removed with a new plate, let's say this is a pressure vessel and there is an area where the damage is there. So what do we do? We remove with a person, we cut the area of the plate and we put another one piece, so we call it as a insert plate. So full penetration groove weld is required for the insert plate. When we use the insert plate, there is full groove penetration groove is required. The weld are radiographed, okay, in accordance with the applicable construction code. All insert plate corners that do not extend to an existing longitudinal horizontal weld shall be rounded having 1 inch. This is another one question. All insert plate corners should be rounded up to 1 inch minimum radius, okay. So pillar metal strength for overlay and repair of existing welds. This is about the procedures and methods what we use for the repairs, because now chapter 8 we are reading about repair, alternation and re-rating. So after repair, what will be the pillar metal strength? How the pillar metal will be identified? The pillar metal used for weld repair vessel should have minimum tensile strength equal to or greater than the minimum specific tensile strength of the base metal. If the base metal strength is 70,000 psi, then it must be 70,000 psi or higher. If a pillar metal used that has a minimum special strength lower than the minimum special strength of the base metal, if some locations it happens like that, then the compatibility of the pillar metal chemistry with the base metal chemistry shall be considered regarding weldability and service damage. Then it will be additionally reviewed for service damage and weldability requirements. So the repair thickness shall not be more than 50% of the required thickness of the base metals. So the thickness of the repair weld shall be increased by the ratio of minimum specified tensile strength of the base metal and the minimum specified tensile strength of the pillar metal used for the repair. This is a calculations. Few times, I cannot guarantee it, but few times we will find such questions. Okay, T feel is the thickness of the repair weld metal in mm, and D is the depth of base metal lost by the corrosion. S base is the base metal tensile strength, and S feel is the pillar metal tensile strength. Usually, sometimes they ask in the open book exam. Okay, this is an open book exam, not a closed book exam. Okay, sometimes this is asked as an open book question. So the increased thickness of the taper shall have rounded corners, this is important, and shall be blended into the base metal using 3:1 taper. Blended means smoothed, okay, blended, okay. So the repair shall be made within a minimum of 2 pass. This is a closed book exam, okay, and this is also a closed book exam, 3:1 taper. This all line by line we have to read by API 510 because they go in very minute level and they choose those questions. So if you not read line by line, you will miss lot of questions in the exams, okay, and you have to remember it very clearly. Sometimes it is minimum, sometimes it is equal, sometimes it is maximum, sometimes it is and, sometimes it is or. So that we need to remember it very carefully. So repair of stainless steel weld overlays and claddings. How stainless steel weld overlays and claddings will be repaired? The repair weld procedure to restore removed, corroded and missing clad of overlay areas shall be reviewed and approved by the engineer and inspector. So engineer and inspector has to review that one. Consideration shall be given to important factors that may affect the repair plan. Those factors includes stress level, P number of base metal, service environment, possible previous dissolved hydrogen, type of lining, deterioration of base metal properties by temper embrittlement. What is temper embrittlement? Of chromium molybdenum alloys, okay, or by damage mechanism causing loss of toughness. Temper embrittlement we do usually for the PWST, okay. Half weld, half bead weld technique and temper embrittlement. Minimum pressurization temperature and the need of future periodic examination, these have to be considered for stainless steel weld overlays, okay. So for equipment exposed to atomic hydrogen migration to the base metal, these additional factors must be considered by the engineer when developing the repair plan. Outgassing of base metal, hardening of base metals due to welding, grinding and arc gouging, preheating and interface temperature control, PWST to reduce hardness and restore mechanical properties. So per vessel constructed P3, P4, P5, this is alloy materials. The base metal in the area of repair should also be examined by cracking by the ultrasonic examinations in accordance to ASME Code 5 Article 4. Okay. He is asking what are the additional tests we have to do it. Welding and hot tapping. You will get one question. Usually, most probably, there is a question for hot tapping. Which code is used? API 2201. That you need to remember. Okay. So API 2201 for safety aspects when making on-stream welds, example during hot tapping, and ASME PCC 2 Article 2.1 for technical guidance in service weldings. That you need to remember. Okay. So what procedure, qualification, and record we have to maintain? Procedure as per ASME section 9, those referenced by the construction code we have to follow. Okay. And inspector shall verify the welder and welding within the ranges qualified the welding procedure qualification within the range of specified welding procedure specification WPS. Okay. The repair organization shall maintain records of its qualified welding procedures and its procedure qualification records. The records shall be available to the inspector before the start of welding. API 577 provides guidance on how to review weld procedure, procedure qualification record, welder performance qualification, and how to respond welding non-conformances. Okay. Preheating. What is the preheating requirement? So preheating requirement used the making welding repairs shall be accordance to applicable code and qualified welding procedures. That may be a question. Preheating should be done as per ASME section 9, ASME 31. They can put whatever they want to put, and they will put another one term as per the applicable code and qualified welding procedure. So that is the answer you have to mark it. Okay. And PWST of pressure vessel repairs or alternation should be made using the equivalent requirement of ASME code, the applicable construction code. Local PWST. What do you mean by local PWST? Instead of doing the total piece to put in furnace to do the PWST, we can do if there is any local welding or local deformation was done. So local PWST we can do. So he is telling local PWST can be substituted for 360-degree bending on local areas of materials provided the following precautions are taken. If you will take the following precaution, then might be 360-degree means all around. Okay, if there is something all around, you can substitute the local PWST. What are the requirements you have to follow? The application is reviewed and the procedure is developed by an engineer. If the engineer reviewed and developed the procedure, then it can be then we can avoid this local PWST. The suitability of the procedure shall be evaluated considering the following factors: base metal thickness, decay thermal gradients, material properties, change due to local PWST. All these things, if you will follow it, then might be, and the procedure is developed and reviewed by the engineer, then might be we can avoid the local PWST. And this is important wherever I will find this question is very important. Okay, a preheat of 300 Fahrenheit or 150 centigrade or higher as specified in the specific welding procedure is maintained during welding. This is required. Okay, if this is maintained, then might be we can avoid the local PWST. Okay, this question usually comes in exam. A required local PWST temperature shall be maintained for distance not less than 2 times. You have to remember very carefully all these terms. For a distance not less than 2 times the base metal thickness measured from toe of the weld. What is the distance they have to cover? Okay. The local PWST temperature shall be monitored by a suitable number of thermocouple, at least two, minimum 2 thermocouples are required. This is a closed book exam. Okay. Controlled heat shall be applied to any nozzle or any attachment within the local PWST area. So what is preheat or controlled deposition welding method as alternative to PWST? How we can avoid PWST? PWST is a requirement and we cannot do the PWST. How? By which method? Preheating or controlled deposition welding. By doing a preheating or controlled deposition welding means how we can weld deposit can be controlled. Sometimes half beat technique is there. You have to weld it, then grind it half of this one, and again do the welding. So half beat technique is one of the technique by which we can avoid PWST. So that those things we will read here. So preheat or controlled deposition welding method as alternative to PWST. Refer to ASME PCC 2 article 2.9 for additional information alternative to PWST. Preheat and CDW as described in 816422, okay, and 816423, which we read earlier, may be used in lieu to PWST where PWST is inadvisable or mechanically unnecessary. So prior to using any alternate method, a metallurgical review conducted by an engineer shall be performed. Those terms we already read in the previous slide. So selection of welding method used shall be based on the rule of construction code applicable. These are all the requirements by which we can avoid the PWST, okay. 8174.313 with reference and 314, 315, all these are covering. You can go through this one. I don't see many questions from this one, but for the previous slide 816 you will find definitely 2-3 closed book questions, okay. Then sorry, preheating method, notch toughness testing is not required, okay. Notch toughness test when it is required, when the impact testing is required, okay. When impact test is required, then only we will go for the notch toughness. The preheating method when performed in lieu to PWST, it is limited to following material and weld process. The material shall be limited to P1 group 1, 2, 3, P3 group 1, 2, excluding manganese, moly, steel in group 2. The welding shall be limited to the shielded metal arc welding, gas metal arc welding or GTAW. The preheating method shall be performed as follows, okay. How we have to do the preheating method in lieu to PWST? Preheating, how we have to do the preheating temperature maintained at a minimum temperature, minimum 150, already we read it, okay. 150 degree centigrade temperature shall be checked at least 4 inch. This is another one important closed book exam for the material, or 4 times the material thickness whichever is greater, whichever is greater. You have to remember all those terms very carefully, okay. The maximum interpass temperature shall not exceed 600 degree or 315. These are for the preheating requirements, okay. And when the weld does not penetrate through the weld metal thickness, the minimum preheat and maximum interpass temperature need only be maintained at a distance of 4 inch or 4 times the depth of the weld repair, whichever is greater. So these are the requirement for the preheating in order to avoid the PWST. So you have to remember everything very clearly. I will repeat one more time. Preheat minimum temperature should be 150 degrees centigrade, and this temperature should be checked for at least 4 inch of the material or 4 times the metal thickness, whichever is greater. The material interpass temperature shall not exceed 600 degree Fahrenheit, and the minimum preheat and maximum interpass temperature need only be maintained at a distance of 4 inch or 4 times the depth of the repair weld, whichever is greater, okay. CDW means controlled deposition weldings. Preheating is one method in which you can avoid the PWST, and CDW, controlled deposition welding, is another one method in which we can avoid the PWST too. So the CDW method may be used in lieu to PWST in accordance with the following. So notch toughness testing such as established in ASME code. The material shall be limited to P number 1, 2, 3, 4, and the process should be GTAW, SMAW and GMAW, okay. In this way you have to do the controlled deposition welding. There is 2 controlled deposition welding methods, okay. Half beat method and temper embrittlement. By these 2 methods you can avoid the PWST. So a weld procedure specification shall be developed and qualified for each application for controlled deposition weldings, okay. And the welding procedure shall define the preheat temperature and interpass temperature. The test material for the welding procedure qualification shall be same material specification including specification type, grade, class and condition, and there is carbon content not more than 0.35, which we have discussed. Okay, above 3.35 this is forbidden for the welding. Okay, and above 0.3 special attention need to be checked. So when impact tests are required by the construction code applicable to the work plan, the procedure qualification record shall include sufficient tests to determine the toughness of the weld metal and the heat affected zone of the base metal in the as welded condition is adequate at the MDMT. Okay. So for this requirement, what are the things we have to follow for the controlled deposition weldings? What will be required? Okay, and it is for the impact testing requirement. So he is telling when impact testing is there, as we read in our previous slides, all supplementary essential variable of ASME section code shall apply. Because why? When impact testing is required, all supplementary essential variable become essential variable. Okay, that's why the maximum weld input for each layer shall not exceed that used in the procedure qualification test. PQR, whatever the maximum weld input is mentioned, that should not exceed. The minimum preheat temperature for welding shall not be less than that used in the PQR. The maximum interpass temperature for welding shall not be greater than that used in the procedure qualification test. The preheat temperature shall be checked, assure that 4 inch 100 mm of the material or 4 times. That's what we read it. It is almost same. Okay, whatever we read it last time for the impact testing, what are the requirements we have to follow? This is almost the same. Okay, so for the welding process items, use only electrode and filler metal that are classified by the filler metal application with an optional supplemental diffusible hydrogen designated. The hydrogen, this low hydrogen electrode should be used, and what type of electrode is used here it is mentioned, and it is a closed book exam. 100% you will find this question. Okay. In order to avoid sorry, in order to avoid the PWST and for the impact testing requirements, the diffusible hydrogen designator or H8 or lower type of electrode should be used. Okay, and when shielding gases are used, the gas shall exhibit a dew point that is not higher than minus 50 degrees C or 60 degree F. This is another one close book exam. Okay, you will find this one. The weld techniques such as CDW, controlled deposition welding, temper beat or half beat technique. These are the two techniques as I told you earlier. The specific techniques shall be used in the procedure qualification test. For weld made by SMAO, after completing the welding and without allowing the weldment to cool down the minimum preheat temperature, the temperature of the weldment shall be raised to a temperature 500 degree F plus minus 50 degree F. This is another one question. For a minimum period of 2 hours. To assist outgassing diffusion of any weld metal hydrogen picked up during welding. The hydrogen backout treatment may be omitted provided the electrode used in the classified by the filler metal specification with an optional supplement of diffusible hydrogen designator of H4 such as E7018H4. So ND of the welds, these are the requirement we follow for the in order to avoid the PWST. And now there is what are the what are the non-destructive examinations we will usually follow. This is as per APA 577 it is mentioned. Okay, APA 577 provides guidance of ND of weld joints and weldments due to welding. Usually the area prepare a welding examination using either MT or PT technique to determine that no defect exists. Okay, it should be examined again by the appropriate ND technique. So these are some of the ND methods we have to follow. Weld inspection of vessel subject to brittle fracture. So if it usually brittle fracture when it happens, it includes startup, shutdown and pressure testings. Okay, this time brittle fracture means if the hardness was if the PWST was not done proper, then the hardness will increase, and if the hardness will increase and sudden impact can make a brittle fracture. Okay, so for that reason we have to check APA 579 FFS fitness for service and to find out the requirement. This is not so important for the question. And re-rating. When we say re-rating, if my vessel at the time of construction, after construction, I did the calculation and the designer say, okay, this will take this much of corrosion allowance and it will go for 30 years. Let's say after 5 years again I go and check and I found the corrosion is much higher, however the designer says, then I have to re-rate the pressure vessel. Okay, so re-rating a pressure vessel by changing the design temperature, maximum metal design temperature, or its MAWP, maximum allowable working pressure, may be done only after all the following requirements has been met. So these are few of the requirements which we have to see. If these requirements are met, then we have to go for the re-rating. Okay, re-ratings calculation should be only done by a manufacturer, owner or user or purchaser. Okay, so that's all friends, we have completed API 510. As I told you, I will make another one slide. In that slide we will do all the calculations related to API 510. No worry for that one, you will get a very clear mathematical calculation slide. So it will cover all API 510, but whatever the slide I have covered from 1 to 7, those slides you have to read it very carefully in and make points one by one. You have to remember those terms very carefully, because usually in exam there are some confusion questions, greater than, lower than, and, or, maximum, minimum. So those things we have to read it carefully. If you will not read it carefully, you will be get confused. So I hope you like the videos. If you like, you share with your friends. So subscribe to my channel and comment to my channel. Thank you very much.